To have Senator Sanders come to speak with us, come to be with us. We are so excited. The collaboration with Meals on Wheels and Senator Sanders' office has been absolutely fabulous. And I want to introduce our wonderful Senator Bernie Sanders.
Serving everybody else for their help in arranging this event and their help in doing away with the rain for a while. Right. You know, we used to do these events in Bennington and all over the state on a regular basis, usually around the holiday time of Christmas. But then COVID came. So we thought, with COVID mostly behind us, that we're going to start it up again, because I think it's just great that we bring people together to enjoy each other. I want to say a few words about some of the stuff that's going on, and I'm going to stop, because mostly I really want to hear from you. I want your comments, your questions, and we'll go from there. All of you obviously are more than aware of the disastrous flood that many communities in the state experienced. It was the worst disaster in Vermont since 1927. Some of us are old, but we're not that old to remember that. That actually took dozens and dozens of lives, but this is the second worst. And that means that some 4,000 homes in this small state were damaged. When I was in Barrie a few weeks ago, right after the flood, it was horrible. And you're looking at a number of homes that is probably going to be demolished and will never be lived in again. Other parts, Billiam was hit hard, Northeast Kingdom was hit hard. So we are working really right now. The delegation, Senator Welch and Congresswoman Ballard and I are working really hard. As we drove here, we just were on the phone with the head of the Housing and Urban Development Department, just making sure that Vermont gets its fair share of help. Because the disaster is going to end up costing us many, many hundreds of millions of dollars. Second of all, I am chairman of a committee called the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, which covers a lot of ground. We're working hard on a number of areas. One of the areas, and I want to hear your views on this, don't be shy, is the high cost of prescription drugs. Is that an issue that's on people's minds?
Yes.
Okay, so we want to work on that. In my view, the pharmaceutical industry is extremely greedy. They make huge amounts of money every single year, and they charge us by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. A number of years ago, I took people from northern Vermont into Canada to buy breast cancer drugs at 1/10 of the price that it was being sold here in the United States. And we still see that kind of ratio. So we're doing our best to take on the pharmaceutical industry, which is not such an easy thing. They're a very powerful group of people. We are also working hard on health care in general. In our country today, we have a major shortage of doctors, nurses, dentists, pharmacists, mental health providers. So we are working as we speak right now to figure out how we can grow the workforce in healthcare so that people in America will have the medical help that they need. So we're working on that as well. We're working on trying to make healthcare less expensive. As some of you may know, we pay by far the highest prices in the world in healthcare. We are spending $13,000 for every man, woman, and child. You all know that? $13,000. Family of four, $52,000. That's including Medicare, Medicaid, everything. That is double what other countries are spending. So we've got to take a hard look at the insurance companies, et cetera, et cetera. We are working on climate change. So if any of you have doubts about it, climate change is real. And not only is it real, it is already in our country and around the world causing devastating crises. In Phoenix, Arizona, they went through 31 days where the temperature was at least 110 degrees. In China, the temperature was 123 degrees. In Iran, they had to shut down the whole government because the temperature was so hot they didn't want kids going to school. This is going on all over the world. Oceans are warming. If you want to go swimming in Miami Beach down off the coast of Florida, you know what the temperature is in the ocean there? Anyone know? 100 degrees. It's a hot tub. And think about what that does to mammal life and the coral reefs and everything else. The difficulty there is climate change is not an American issue, it's a global issue. And we're going to have to figure out how you bring countries together to address it. But we're working hard, among other things in this country, to try to make it easier for working class, middle class families to put solar panels on their rooftop. All right, anybody here have solar on the rooftop? All right, we do in my house. It has cut our electric bill by 80%. It's cut by 80%. The problem is people don't have the money to purchase it in the first place, which is what legislation that I pass will do, to help people buy the solar panels and pay them off over a period of years, not spending any more than their electric bill was previously. So those are a few of the issues that are locally. I know there has been worry about the Bennington Monument. Battle of Bennington, there it is. They moved it since I was last time. And I think we are in the process of getting some money to figure out how it doesn't collapse or something like that. We're also working with your local hospital on some programs as well. Okay, why don't I stop now and just ask me any questions? Beck has a microphone, so don't be shy. Fire away comments. You don't have to agree with me. I don't care. Just tell me what's on your mind. I think we got a hand right here. If you could stand up and give us your name, that'd be great.
My name is Bill Morris.
Let him hold it, Beck. It's not on.
I can speak loud.
Okay.
My name is Bill Morris. I live in Bellows Falls, and I just wanted to make Bernie thank you again for bringing us all together. This is a wonderful day, a wonderful small sample of our community. Thank you for being here in the flesh. Veteran side note, I wanted to know how many veterans are here. Raise your hand, please, if you're a veteran.
Well, we thank you so much for this thing.
Raise your hand, please, if you are a Vietnam veteran. Do we have any Vietnam veterans? I bring that up because 2023 is the 50th anniversary of Operation Homecoming, in which 595 of 1,209 held American women and men held in Laos and Vietnam were released. 595 of 1,209 POWs. What happened to the other 614? These are the people I want us to remember in a moment of silence, because they were not released when Congress at the time failed to comply with Article 22 of the agreed upon Paris peace talks. negotiated by Henry Kissinger, who is still with us. We promised the Northeast at least $5 billion in reconstruction money and later reneged. Okay, I just want to please take your hats off. Remember these 614 American men and women that were left behind, some having given signs of their presence through messaging up until 1992, and then nothing. And just a moment of silence for these 614 veterans that were left behind. God bless them. Thank you.
Well, Bill, thank you very much for raising that issue and making sure that we never forget the people who put their lives on the line to defend our country. I'm the former chairman of the Veterans Committee. I think we're making some progress. You're maybe familiar with the PAC Act, which is going to bring a whole lot of veterans into the VA system, going to pay out a whole lot of money in disability benefits for people who were impacted in Iraq and Afghanistan and so forth. So thank you
Another
for
side note, Bernie, we have an issue with suicides. We have over 600 veterans per month that commit suicide.
I'm going to be more than aware of that. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lauren Sheraton. The time of midday that you're having this meeting is great for us seniors, and thank you for that. I'm interested in how you're reaching the working people and youth who might be moving out.
Well, we spend a lot of time and energy on that. I think all of you are aware that what's going on in our country today, and it has for many, many years, we've seen a growing gap between the people on top who are doing phenomenally well. We have more income and wealth inequality in America today than we've ever had in the history of this country. You got 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. So we spend a lot of time and energy trying to bring working people together to fight for economic justice. And one of the very good things that has been happening in the last couple of years is we're seeing a resurgence of the American trade union movement. Workers coming together to demand decent wages and benefits. And somebody who I've worked with for the last year as the new president of the Teamsters Union just negotiated a very, very good contract with UPS. Tomorrow night, literally tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing what we call a live stream on our website with the president of the United Automobile Workers, the new president, Sean Fain. Their union is now entering negotiations with the big automobile manufacturers. We are going to be supporting their efforts. In terms of young people, I try to get to as many schools as I possibly can. I was down here a few months ago, getting the young people to understand that the future belongs to them and they've got to be involved and think through the many crises that we face. So we work very hard on that. Other questions or comments? Yeah, I see a hand right there.
Hi, my name is Diana. I wanted to know, with the new program that you worked on to get like access to new solar panels, monies for that, how do we here at a local level get to that money and avail ourselves?
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to do our best to get to where it's not. The money hasn't been released yet. It's sitting in the EPA. It will be released shortly. And here is the principle. It's a very simple principle. If you want, depending on the size of your house, it may cost you $12,000, $15,000 to install. They will give you that money, depending on your income and so forth and so on. If it's a loan, you don't pay any more than you're currently paying for electricity right now. Got it? And at the end of 10 years, you're going to pay off that loan, you got free electricity. That's the plan. Okay, so we will get the word out. If the money hasn't been released from Washington, we expect it to be released within a couple of weeks or a month or so. But we will get that word out. Thank you.
My name is
homes. I take the food to people's homes, and sometimes they say deliver to Brookside Apartments. There's only a couple people there that qualify for the Meals on Wheels program. But as I walk through, it's pretty much senior housing and low-income housing. I chatted a little bit with them, and I said, why don't you have Meals on Wheels? And they go, we don't qualify. And then I said, well, we have a wonderful Mall Cafe, the Meals on Wheels Cafe. And they just looked and they said, oh yeah, we like to get dressed up and go up there and have lunch there once in a while. And they say, but who can afford $4 for a lunch or $5 for a lunch? And so I was just thinking, if they could use their EBT card to pay for their Meals on Wheels, and Meals on Wheels gives out the opportunity and people get a more balanced nutrition perhaps, because we don't know exactly what they spend their money on. Maybe potato chips and pizza and Coca-Cola. I don't know. But that was just my idea.
Thank you. I am a very, very big fan of Meals on Wheels, and I want to thank everybody, Ilsa and everybody else who participates in the program. Meals on Wheels does a couple of things. Number one, it provides good nutrition to seniors. But the second thing it does, which is equally important, is it enables somebody to go knocking on the door and chat with somebody. And that is, if you're living alone, I mean, one of the problems we have, we're an aging society. And more people are going to be living longer and longer. But what happens is, you know, in 70, 80, 90, your spouse may die. And suddenly you're out there alone. And that's a tough place to be if you've been married for 30 or 40 years. So what we want to do is make sure that people are not isolated. They are able to talk to other people, interact with other people. Meals on Wheels does that. Now, you know, I'm the chairman of the committee that authorizes Meals on Wheels. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that we substantially increase funding in every way. Because you got waiting lists all over America for the program. We're going to try to come up with new ideas. But I don't have to tell anybody in this room that there are some folks in Washington who have very strange priorities. They'd rather spend $900 billion a year on the military than take care of the elderly or the kids, give tax breaks to zillionaires who don't need it. And that's the fight that we have. It's a very tough climate to be in. But thank you for your work on that. And we're going to work as hard as we can to expand Meals on Wheels. Look forward to your ideas.
Senator, thank you so much for your work in terms of prescription drug costs. We are in Manchester. So I live with someone that has multiple sclerosis. Every 30 days, we have to get the medication approved, which means somebody's answering the phone and making the decision, and that's an administrative cost. And then we have to do that in another 30 days and another 30 days. And then there's a pharmacy benefit manager who is calling the shots about what drugs are covered and what's not covered. And it's the administrative costs are very high. And we've gone to the pharmacy, we've asked, and it's really concerning. And as we continue to age, I'm really concerned about the costs of drugs going up and up and up. So I'm just wondering, what can we do to make the pharmaceutical companies understand these are our lives? This is our life.
I don't want to break your first name is?
My first name is Audra.
Audra. Well, this is what we did for the first time ever in the Senate. I brought the CEOs of the three largest drug companies in the country, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and I can't remember the third one. Pfizer, yeah, right. Along with the heads of the three largest PBMs in the country, sitting on one table. What Farmer is trying to do is blame the PBMs for the problem. PBMs blame the farmer. And of course, they're both complicit. What we managed to get out of that meeting is a promise from Pfizer, no, from Eli Lilly, that they would not raise their insulin prices anymore. There's an effort right now to control insulin prices in America, which I think will have some success with. But taking on the pharmaceutical industry is not easy. You know how many paid lobbyists they have in Washington, D.C.? Yes. 1,800. There are 535 members of Congress, 435 in the House, 100 in the Senate. They have 1,800 lobbyists, former leaders of the Democratic and Republican parties. So they do everything they can, and every year, these guys make huge amounts of money, and their CEOs make tens of millions of dollars. So what I lay down to them is tell us how you're going to cut prescription drug costs in half in America. That's the goal. We're going to introduce legislation to do just that. To cut prescription drug costs in America by half. Is it going to pass? No, not right now. But we are going to work as hard as we can in every way. You know why? It's not just the individual. You're talking about somebody in your household. It is the hospital that may end up spending 20% of their budget on prescription drugs. I talked to the guy who's the head of the UVM hospital. It's the biggest hospital in the state. 20% of their budget goes to prescription drugs. There was a woman who was ill, and there was one drug they needed for her. You know what it costs? Like $1 million a week for one drug. Half of the new drugs coming on the market are over $200,000. So these guys make money hand over fist. And it is tough to take them on. We are doing our best, trust me. It's very high on my priority list. Okay, other questions, comments? Yup, we have one right there.
Welcome. I'm Julie Adams. I'm here in Anderson. My concern is I'm hearing that the Social Security and Medicare trust funds are going to go broke in about 10 years. I'm a relatively young senior, and I expect to be participating in both 10 years from now. So I'm concerned that Congress, those 500 and some members you just mentioned, aren't doing a whole lot to make sure that these trust funds are solid going into the future and our sons and daughters and grandchildren are overly burdened.
Good. This is, I'm going to be a little bit political here, a little bit partisan, okay? Different philosophical approaches. Social Security, as you know, was developed in the 1930s by President Roosevelt, way back when. And it turns out that it is the most successful federal program in the history of America. It went a long way to reducing poverty among seniors and the disabled, etc. There has been, since Reagan, and before Reagan, an effort on the part of right-wing Republicans to try to privatize virtually every public entity in America. Whether it is Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, public education, the Veterans Administration, massive effort to try to get the fight back. And these guys think that the corporate world should be running everything and that our own government shouldn't be doing anything. That's one of the fights we're having within Social Security. So let me explain what's going on, what I think should be done. The trust fund, if we don't do anything in a certain, I don't know the exact year, will in fact be depleted. In which case it will only be dependent on the amount of money the workers are putting into it today, which will provide about 3/4 of what we need. Got it? So we've got to fill that 1/4 gap. What is the major funding problem in Social Security now? What is the unfair element of funding in Social Security? Who knows the answer to that?
Cap on.
The what?
Cap on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So here is the story. She makes $10 million a year. He makes $160,000 a year. They are both contributing the same exact amount of money into the Social Security Trust Fund. I have legislation in which lifts the cap and said that if you're making 10 million, you're going to pay on that 10 million, not on the 160,000. If you do that, you will make the trust fund solvent for 75 years plus raise benefits for Social Security beneficiaries and whatnot. There are a lot of, so let's talk about this for a moment. There are a lot of Social Security beneficiaries, people never made a whole lot of money in their lives. They're trying to get by at $15,000, $18,000 a year, which ain't easy. All right, anyone want to, so we want to raise those as well. But the problem, the fight that we're having from right-wing Republicans is if they don't want to privatize Social Security, they want to cut benefits. And there are ways to do that. One way is raise the retirement age. Want you to work till you're 98 years of age or something. Number two, many of you, if you're on Social Security, got a good COLA, cost of living adjustment last year, right?
Yep.
Was it 8%?
Yep.
All right. One way they would like to cut it is do away with that generous COLA, which now in fact reflects inflation. So there are a number of tactics that they are bringing forth that we're fighting back. But the most important thing, I think, is to make the funding of Social Security more progressive by lifting that cap. Do people know folks who are trying to get by on $15,000, $18,000 a year Social Security?
Yeah.
All right, tell me about that. Anyone want to talk about that? Say a word on that.
I live with my daughter because I did it for a year and did my life.
And again, I want to stress this point. This is the richest country in the history of the world. But yet you have more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had before. That means we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country. Millions of seniors are in exactly your position, struggling, pay for prescription drugs, pay for the food they eat. So the struggle is, how do we change our national priorities? We are the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. Kids are graduating college, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 in debt. Your grandchildren, your kids can't afford child care because in Vermont, child care costs $15,000 a slot. How do you pay for that if you're making $50,000 a year? So we've got to change the priorities around, because right now, the wealthiest people are doing phenomenally well. The large corporations are enjoying record-breaking profits, and working families are struggling. That's the fight we're in right now. Okay, other questions or comments?
Hello,
How are you?
Mark Santelli.
I know Mark was head of the UAW down here for a few years.
One thing, for instance, prescription drugs are killers. And the drugs like Pepexlin, ICAs, which a lot of people are on. Blood thinner went from $1,500 for 90 days to $2,000 in the last 6 months. You pull up, and what happens is, I thought that insurance, you probably feel, Medicare, what happens is they don't fall. So what happens is, just this week, we'll look at my blood thinner. Yes, okay, 501. For 90 days. That 90 days, it might be 650. So the insurance isn't keeping up with the cost of the prescription. I understand that the insurance companies put a lot of money to make these prescriptions. But it's the point now where they keep tacking on to 500.
Mark, some of these drugs were made decades ago. They made their profits, made their investment over a dozen times. All right, but let me give you some good news. All right? In my view, Republicans are doing very little on these issues. The Democrats are not doing enough. But let me give you some good news. it had a couple of reasonably good provisions in it. One of them is that, I can't remember, within a few years, no senior in America will have to pay more than $2,000 out of pocket for prescription drugs. That would help you? All right, $2,000 would be the max. That's something. All right, the other thing is, it starts the process of beginning having Medicare negotiate prices with the industry. Right now, and I deal with this every day, these guys come up with a drug, and they decide what the price will be, and it simply has nothing to do with research and development. It has, what will the market bear? How much can I possibly make? There are drugs, as I mentioned, drugs coming onto the market, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's what the drug costs. So what the Inflation Reduction Act did, it said that Medicare will negotiate drug prices. The Veterans Administration has been doing that for 3 decades, which is why the VA pays the lowest prices in America for prescription drugs. So we're making a little bit of progress on that one. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cindy Crowdine, and I used to work at GEDIX. And one of the jobs I had at GEDIX was as a Vermont Health Connect assister. And after I retired, I'm doing it now as a volunteer. And I would like a lot of people to know that many of the seniors, although we can't apply for Vermont Health Connect as such, because we have Medicare, you are, under certain instances, eligible for pharmaceutical assistance and even to pay your Medicare premium. So I would strongly suggest that if you're comfortable with it, they can call Vermont Health Connect. And also, I'm available locally. I'm retired, I'm alone. I am available from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, 7 days a week. If you call me, I will work my butt off for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what Cindy said. The truth is, there are a lot of programs out there, whether it's the Veterans Administration or many other programs, where people just don't know. We don't do as good a job as we can in outreach. And many of these programs are too complicated to do. Okay, other questions or comments? Yeah, we've got a hand right here.
Hello, I'm Dick Nessus, and
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. Hold up to your mic.
I'm Dick Nessus, and what Cindy said is that she's the hardest working retired woman in all of Vermont.
She forgot to retire, right?
Here in Bennington, we just recently lost, actually North Bennington, recently lost services of the primary care doctor. They're all scrambling to find a new primary care doctor. And so I called the local hospital, internal medicine department, got in on the list. I was told that I'm 1,500 on the list. People that they can accept. So, could you speak a bit about primary care?
I am laughing. Because for the last 4 months, you know what I've been working on? Nothing but primary care. That's what we're working on. So, you know, I'm going through many hours on it, but I won't. The bottom line is, we don't have enough doctors in general, but we most definitely don't have enough primary care doctors. You know why? Because primary care doctors make substantially less money than doctors who are in the specialties. Whether they're anesthesiologists, what's the word? Anesthesiologists, whether they're dermatologists, whatever it may be. That's number one. So what we are trying to do, with some success, we have in Vermont expanded community health centers. Remember community health centers? A program called the Federally Qualified Community Health Centers, of which there's one. We just expanded it to Brattleboro. In Vermont has more percentage, high percentage of people utilizing these programs. That means you walk in the door, and regardless of your income, you're going to have access to primary care, dental care, mental health counseling, and low-cost prescription drugs. As we speak, we are working to substantially increase funding for community health centers. We are working right now to expand the number of doctors and nurses, especially in primary care. So this is literally my major priority right now, along with prescription drugs. And running up against resistance as usual, but I hope to have some success. But thank you, it's a real crisis. And you know what, the irony here is that people don't have access to a doctor. It ends up costing the system more money. What? Because they end up going to an emergency room, which is 10 times more expensive than walking into the community health center. Or they don't go to the doctor when they should, they end up in the hospital. We spend 5% of our healthcare dollars on primary care. Most countries spend 10 to 15%. You understand what I'm saying? So we're trying to change that dynamic.